Hello and welcome to another episode of the Opus Well Style Podcast. My name is Ivan Watanabe here with my two partners today, Evan Wall and Lou Mohn. What's going on, fellas? How are you?
It's a party today.
Good morning.
Absolutely, the Opus family bringing some value today. So we're really excited to have on Lou, who occasionally makes an appearance to kind of share some knowledge and wisdom with us on a topic today that's particularly important. And we were having a conversation about this and really thought it'd bring the audience some value today. So, Lou, we're excited to have you on. Unfortunately, we know the passing of your mom, Ann Mohn, and just wanted to give her a quick shout out. I love watching that the social media posts of her with her great grandkids, your grandkids, and seeing you and Marianne and just how much fun you all had together. So just wanted to give her a quick shout out, and she'll definitely be missed.
I appreciate that. She's looking down on us right now.
How many great grandkids?
2.
Good for her.
Awesome. So, with her passing, obviously, Lou, you were in charge of handling a lot of the affairs from a financial standpoint, emotional standpoint, a family standpoint. So, as you went through it, I'm sure there were some things that you thought were going to happen, but really, some things came to light for you that were unexpected, and I think providing some things for the audience where we could start to prepare them would be a great value. So, maybe we'll start there.
Great. Thanks for having me this morning. I do think this is a very important subject, and it's certainly one where we're talking about comprehensive planning with our clients who have parents who are beginning to age, that a dialogue, although uncomfortable in certain circumstances to have, is an important one that just has to be had. I got together with my mom, maybe 6 or 8 months ago, and reviewed a bit of her estate, which candidly was not much. So it demonstrated to me that with our clients and their successes and understanding who their parents are, that when they got to this point, that the level of complexity was going to far exceed what my own mother's was. And there were some things that came to light that really kind of hit me out of left field. We do this for a living, but we talk about, making sure your wills are in place and that you've got your power of attorney and your trustees and, but there were some things that really surprised me. For example, I'd had myself added to my mother's bank accounts, about 6 or 8 months ago. And I'm so glad I did, because I got to see some of the ongoing regular charges that were taking place. Things like automatic payment of utilities, cell phone charges that were automatically being debited out of her account. And the one that surprised me the most, candidly, was her Amazon account. And my mom, on her passing, I'm sure Amazon stock dropped a couple of points. In fact, 3 packages were ordered the morning that she passed away, and I'm dead serious about that. But I noticed that she had ongoing deliveries taking place on basic household items, because she was older and couldn't get out. And having just gotten her password to her Amazon account, it was easy for me to go in and cancel them out. But I would never have thought about that. Mm-hmm. And it would have been amazing to just, had we not identified that, to see what charges would have continued in perpetuity to basically drain down her bank account. But some other things came to light, too, that I had not thought about. And it's really kind of an older generation thing. Safe deposit boxes. Where are the keys to the safe deposit box? Where is the safe deposit box? At what bank branch? Does that bank branch still exist? That was surprising to me. And other items as well.
Yeah. It's interesting because it got us thinking a lot about all those little those little automatic day-to-day things that take place, right? So the streaming services that are charging you, the meal delivery services, Amazon that's on subscription, all the different service providers that come to my house automatically, right? The lawnmower, the bug spray person, all of the people that come, the cleaning people, like all the people that come on a regular basis that just show up at my house. It was really, really interesting to sort of go through this thought process of all of the things that have been automated in our world that, if somebody didn't have control to say, hey, this person's no longer here, they're just going to continue in perpetuity.
Well, identifying them is one hurdle. The second hurdle is having those service providers actually be willing to talk to you, because you have to demonstrate that you are a relation, and that you have the authority to speak on their behalf.
I'm guessing you need to be the executor now.
Correct. So you not only need, their password to their account, but you need to have their social security number, their date of birth, things that you would think off the top of your head you might have, but I certainly didn't have my mother's social security number memorized. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, I was able to find it and then, get the clearance to actually speak on her behalf and cancel accounts.
Yeah. But again, those small nuanced ones that you don't know. And it's interesting because I think the bank account was probably a really interesting place to start, but you won't know in certain occasions until it's already too late, right? So you don't know that she's got 7 different streaming services until the debit charge comes out of the account, on that particular month, and it's already happened, right? Or even
correct.
If it's less frequent, let's say it's an annual subscription or an annual premium or an annual payment that comes out, and you don't know to stop it ahead of time. Once it's come out, it's already too late.
You're exactly right. And my mom's income was really centered around, one of my dad's small pensions and her Social Security payment. And that was the other shocker to me. Social Security payments pay forward, not backward. My mom died on the 29th of a month, and she received her Social Security benefit payment the following 2nd of the month. And when you apply for the death certificate at the funeral home, they alert Social Security that the individual has passed. My mom had passed. And it wasn't 2 weeks later that Social Security was sending notifications saying that they had frozen the payment and they were backing it out. And so for folks that were on the other end of this, you may think that you've got a payment coming in to handle some of the charges that have been occurred for that month. Mm-hmm. But Social Security is Uncle Sam is taking their money back, as was the pension payment taken back.
Really? Mm. You had the foresight to add yourself to her bank account, which allowed you to see all that stuff. Had you not done that, then you're just kind of aiming in the dark.
I would have never known. And a few other things just popped into my head. Things like titles to automobiles, titles to property that somebody owns, maybe outright. Access to mortgage information and a mortgage bank. It's amazing how complex things can get. And then, of course, the other thing that you want to do, and it becomes a difficult part of a conversation with any parent as we're counseling our clients about their own parents, is asking them what their wishes are in death. Mm-hmm. Do they want to be buried? Do they want some religious celebration?
Do they have a plot, and where is it, and how to
do they have a plot, or would they rather be cremated, or do they have specific requests? And my mom did, and we fulfilled those. But that's another entire relationship that you build with a funeral parlor, and understanding what your parents' wishes are, and as any good son or daughter would want to do is make sure that their last rights, their last wishes are met.
I had a client situation recently where the my client's father passed away at the age of, I think he was about 64, 63 or 64, so young.
Young guy.
Yeah. And it was relatively sudden. He was an accountant, and so he handled all the finances, and my client's mother just was kind of in the dark as it relates to finances. And so when he suddenly passed away, it was very difficult for the family to track everything down. Where are the accounts? What are the debts owed? It just, they had to shift through all the paperwork, and they were reaching out to his employer to just get some, any insight they could, contact information to anyone that would have some information. So it was, on top of an already very difficult and stressful time. Now they're having to be detectives to try and find everything, and whether you never really know for sure if there was anything left out there.
Well, you bring up an interesting point, Evan. One of the places that you have to go is to the post office, and you have to have a death certificate at the post office to have any mail of the deceased forwarded to you, so you have some visibility as to additional bills that may be out there, that
or statements that come in,
or statements that need to be covered. Now, the one thing I did learn is that any outstanding credit card debt, you as a surviving beneficiary are not responsible for the debt that's incurred on credit cards. As long as your name is not associated with the account, you are not liable for paying the balance.
Interesting.
Which was fortunate.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, we had come up based on this situation and based on our conversations, we had come up with a pretty comprehensive list of some of these different things that we'll make sure to post on our socials, for the listening audience. So are there any other things that were on that list, Lou, that you thought were unique, or that you didn't think of, or that you thought were particularly interesting?
Well, the one thing that is really kind of a no-brainer, but it's something that I think that a parent should do, is if they have specific items or desires that certain of their children receive them, and having some kind of a cheat sheet, whatever you want to call it. What my mom had done she had taken different colored stickers and put them on the bottom of items and color coded things that she wanted to go to my brothers and myself. So there's that component. So anything of value that she wants to be kept in the family, so that there's no fighting between the siblings. And you'd be surprised. You can think that you've got a very friendly situation between siblings, but when money and or specific items get involved, it's you can watch this on television all the time. This is what you see on television. So it happens in real life as well.
I've got my best friend, his wife's grandmother passed away, and the cousins got together for a draft of the jewelry. So I don't know how they picked the order. I mean, it's probably just out of a hat, but they would just go one by one and pick. And then the the spouses were sitting second row behind, like, no, pick that thing.
Oh yeah.
And so my friends were like bragging to me. They got the best value for their the fourth pick in the draft.
Yeah, my mom only had sons, but she had my wife as a daughter-in-law, and that's the only one. So, she got first picks, but my mom had also designated one of her nieces to receive some jewelry too. Mm-hmm. So, that aspect of it was pretty.
Did she do that
seamless?
In the will?
But I can understand why it would be more difficult in a different situation.
Yeah, it's funny because that without that list of items, again, you'll have some infighting. Or it becomes the responsibility of maybe the spouse that might still be there. You know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine if I get hit by a bus, I have some things that I want to give away. it would be really difficult for Joanna to say, you know, this should go to this person, this should go to like this. It's another thing to add to that person's plate while they're grieving to try to give this stuff to the appropriate person, and it's probably a lot of pressure that they don't need. You know, and so just sort of thinking out loud here, you know, this is not something that should only be a conversation or a thought for those that are, you know, more senior, but it should be something that, you know, we should be thinking about, you know, now.
Well, I think what tees up this conversation for our clients is when we're talking to them about, you know, their retirement or what kind of protection that they have. And, you know, what I've found is when the whole concept of long-term care comes up for our clients who have older parents, I mean, it seems like a very easy transition to say, hey, are you aware if your mother or father, if they're still living, have any kind of long-term care benefits? And if so, what kind? And if you don't know, you know, it might be a good thing to basically preface the conversation with, hey, mom, dad, I'm going through some financial planning with our advisors right now. A couple of these subjects came up, and I'm just curious as to what you may have implemented to date. And if you could share that with me. And if you haven't, maybe these are some things that we should be thinking about just in case.
Yeah.
Just in case.
That's some really good language, Lou, because I do think it's a tough conversation. I think for a lot of people to kind of broach that language, I think is really, at least for me, seems pretty reasonable.
I think children are concerned that their parents might view that line of questioning as some kind of a money grab. In my mom's situation, there wasn't any, so that wasn't part of the dialogue. But I can see where it would be. You know, you asked, is there anything else? Yeah, there's one more thing that comes to mind too. And this wasn't in my situation with my mom, but it was with my father-in-law. My father-in-law had been remarried. He had a prenuptial agreement. He had a postnuptial agreement. And he was a fairly successful businessman. And upon his death, there was a thought that everything was outlined and cut and dry. And it turns out that it wasn't, that the second wife contested the prenup. She contested the postnup, which she actually had drafted and notarized. And there were proceedings that lasted 4.5 years to the tune of a little over $350,000 worth of attorney's fees. And so, not to get off track, but these are also obstacles that you may find, even though you think that somebody's estate is all buttoned up. It can be contested, even if you've taken the proper precautions to make sure that it won't be. It still can be.
Yeah. It's not a fun conversation for sure.
I know I've thought about this a little. I mean, even though we're young, but I've thought about this for, you know, what happens if I pass away. You know, obviously we've got wills and trustees, et cetera. I know at a minimum, Lori would be able to know where everything is, because we have for our clients a financial website that organizes everything for them. And so at a minimum, she would not miss out on anything. She would know where all the accounts are, et cetera. But she would certainly, you know, still needs passwords to get into all the accounts, anything she's not listed on. And so, you know, anything you could just centralize to say, here's like a main password to I have a password keeper app. And just here's where all the important files are.
Yeah. You know, as you guys both know, you know, technology is not my friend. And passwords tend to change about every 45 days anymore. And then now with the second degree of authenticity with, passcodes being sent to your cell phone. I mean, it just adds another layer of information that you ultimately might have to have and making sure that you're keeping your passwords up to date. I've got them on a yellow pad. That's, how old school I am, but a lot of them have changed.
Yeah, it's funny when I had surgery a couple of years back, and I wrote all my stuff down and put them all on my desk. And the one that I'm forced to write down all the time, and I have it in several different places, is my cryptocurrency wallet.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you lose that, you are screwed. Like, I am screwed. I'm in a bad way. So I've written that down a million different places. So, I've made sure to kind of have that, written down, but definitely, I haven't given, I don't know about you, Evan, like, I don't have a game plan for when I'm not here. Like, I'm relatively new to this area. Do I want to be buried in Massachusetts or here or cremated? I haven't given it much thought, candidly. I don't know if this is the place for us to have this conversation, but I haven't given it much thought, and it's really a thought-provoking conversation to say, I might want to write down some things for, some of my, collectibles or, what I actually want to have happen. And maybe we start introducing this conversation a little bit more frequently within our client dialogues, for sure.
When we talk with our clients, and as we've all experienced, people say this can't happen to me. I'm too young. I'm too healthy. And when I get that kind of response when I'm having a dialogue with my clients, it's like, ladies and gentlemen, do you watch the news? Bad stuff happens to good people every day. We watched some situations just over the course of the last week with school shootings and Charlie Kirk and everything else that happens on the news, domestically and abroad. Bad stuff happens to good people, and you just don't know. So the earlier you start to have this conversation, as difficult as it is, the better off we're going to be. And listen, I mean, we all work with young families who are starting to have kids. And the first thing I ask is, do you have your will and your trust work and your power of attorney and your legal documents put together? And, we'll get around to that. We'll get around to that. Yeah, you're right. And as we've all seen, the biggest hang up is, okay, who's going to take care of my kids if something happens to both of us? That's the number one block.
Yeah.
That people have. And my response is, listen, having something in writing is better than nothing. And just like we'll review how you're doing with achieving your financial goals, part of that is going to be making sure that your wills are updated, because people will move in and out of your lives. So today, who might be appropriate may not be a year or two from now. And that's why we raise those questions during our process.
Definitely. Well, listen, this has been a good conversation. I really appreciate, Lou, you kind of sharing and being open with the audience, because I think it's an important conversation for us to have. But any other particular takeaways that you think the audience should know or consider?
Don't be bashful asking the question. Recognize that you may get a little bit of pushback. But reinforce the fact that you're doing it for their own good and for your own sanity. When things do happen. I mean, you pointed it out a few minutes ago. You're going to be dealing with grieving, and all of these things in addition, especially if you're trying to maintain a job and a family life. I mean, it takes quite a bit of time. And if you don't have to become a private detective trying to find all of these items and passwords and accounts, it's going to make your life a lot simpler. And your parents, they've raised you and they want the best for you. So they'll understand why you're asking the question. So just be confident in doing so.
For sure. Well, Lou, thanks, man, for coming on. We really appreciate you. And again, for being super candid and transparent with us. And to you, the listening audience, thanks for tuning in. Please click subscribe below to be notified when we release our next episode. We're also going to have this checklist of different items to consider available for us to distribute. So just feel free to message us and we'll send it off to you via PDF. All right. I appreciate y'all. Have a good rest of the week.
See you guys.